Hey everyone, what's up? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Lamed Tes, Daf 39 of Masechta Pesachim. Today's Daf really, for the most part, talks about Maror. And the interesting thing is that we're not really, it's like a funny kind of thing. Like, I don't know, it just lists all sorts of different things from Maror, but we don't really have so many English translations. So we're just going to have a lot of stuff. I don't really know what to say. But here, we'll see for ourselves. Let's start with the Mishnah and Daf Lamed Tes Amud Aleph all the way at the top. Velu Yurakis Shad Mitzibani De Chavase Pesach. These are the vegetables that you can be Yotze, your obligation of eating Maror on Pesach. Bachazeres Betamcho V'Charchavina Uve'ulshin of Maror. There you go. You can use any of these 5 things. You can use Chazeres, Tamcho, Charchavina, Ulshin, and Maror. Okay? The Gemara is going to explain actually what Chazeres is. Yotzin, but well, even that's like a machlokas, right? So it tells us what chazeres is, but then not everybody agrees, right? Alright, yeah, people use all sorts of different things for maror. Well, I think mostly just romaine lettuce and horseradish, but alright. Where are we? So yotzin bed, you can use them. Ben lachin, ben yiveshin, whether they're moist, whether they're dry. Avalo kvushin, but not pickled. Velo shlukin, velo mevushalin, not cooked very, very, very well. The article said stewed. Sounds good to me. And not mivushalin, not boiled. Okay, very good. Shlukin is like boiling more than just it's more than just boiling. It's really boiling, and boiling is just regular boiling. Mitzaref and chazayis, and all these different species can join together to make a gazayis. If you only have a shtickle ulshin and a shtickle tamcha and a shtickle charchavina, so together they could make up one kazayis. You could be yitzazan. Okay, mitzaref and the chazayis, they could join together to make a kazayis. V'yotzim bekelach shaloin, and you can also use their stalk. Okay, fine. V'dmai v'maiserishin shnit l'trumaso maisersheni v'aktis sheniftu, and you can also use demai, which we've learned about a number of times. Maiserishon, that you already took truma on it. Okay, I mean obviously you can use it. It could be the Gemara is maybe going to do one of those things like it did the other day. We were talking about like that the Levi got there before the coin. I don't know. We'll have to see. Ma'aser sheni v'hektish sheniftu. You can use ma'aser sheni hektish, that you redeemed them onto money. Okay, very beautiful. Let's go weiter. Says the Gemara. Chazeres chasa. Very good. So chazeres is chasa. What's chasa? So I mean, of course, in modern day Hebrew, chasa is romaine lettuce. Okay. Ulshin is hindvi, tamcha, amrab barbachana, tamchisa shma. It's really called tamchisa charchavina. Amr b'shim ben lakish atzvasa de dikla. Okay, that is a vine of the palm tree. Uvimaror, what's maror? Marirta. Okay, very good. Tani bar kapara taught, Elu yirakish ad milti bani de chavas b'pesach. The following are the vegetables that you can use for maror. Ulshin, you can use ulshin, uvitamcha, uvacharchalin, b'charchavinin, uvachazvin. Okay, you can use any of these in Yonim. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, says Rabbi Yehuda, af ulshe sadav ulshegina. You can use ulshin of wild ulshin as well as, garden ulshin. Okay, v'chazeres ulshe v'chazeres. Okay, and also chazeres. But one second, ulshegina v'chazeres atana lereisha. The first part, for anybody who's paying attention very sharply, so the first part already mentioned ulshin and chazeres. So why did Rabbi Yehuda have to repeat it? So this is what he's saying. Af ulshe sada ki ulshe gina v'chazeres. That ulshe sada, wild ulshin, are like garden ulshin and chazeres, and they can be used for maror. Okay. Rabbi Meir Omer, af asvos v'tura umar yiroar. Rabbi Meir says you can also use asvos tura and mar yiroar. Rabbi Yossi, asvos v'tura chadu. Rabbi Yossi says asvos and tura are the same thing. Umar Zehu Yiroar, and Mar is Yiroar. Okay, very beautiful. Wow, I'm sure everybody here at Babylon Talmud this Pesach is going to have a whole array of different kinds of marors. Of course, if you could figure out what is in Yon and Mar. Tani Dvei Shmuel was taught in the Bismedrash of Shmuel. Elu Yiraka Shadim Yotzi Bani De Chavas BePesach. The following are the vegetables that you can use for maror. You guys ready? Bachazeres, Beulshin, Uvtamcha, V'charvinin, Uvcharginin, V'hardofnin. Sounds good to me. Sounds very bitter to me. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Af Chazeres Yulin, Chazeres Galin, Kayotze Ban. Sounds good. Rabbi Ila Omer says Rabbi Ila, Mishum Rabbi Eliezer. So he says the name for Rabbi Eliezer. I wonder if Rabbi Ila is the same as Rabbi Eli that we saw the other day. May also be like the father of Rabbi Yehuda Bar Eli, maybe. Okay. So where are we? So Rabbi Ila Omer. So says Rabbi Ila, Mishum Rabbi Eliezer. The name of Rabbi Eliezer. Af Arkablim. You can also use Arkablim. Al Kol Tamidav. Says Rabbi Ila that I asked all of the students of Rabbi Eliezer. Who were his students? Rabbi Kiva was a student of Rabbi Eliezer. Who else was a student of Rabbi Eliezer? I don't really know. Maybe Rabbi Yossi Galili? I have no clue. I couldn't find anybody to, what's the word I'm looking for? To, I don't know, I can't remember. To agree with me, basically. To basically give a stamp of approval that, yeah, Rabbi Eliezer said that. When I came to Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, he said, yeah, that's true. Okay, so even our kabbalim. Rabbi Yehuda Omer says Rabbi Yehuda, Kol sheyesh lo sraf, if it has sap, it's got to have sap. Rabbi Yochanan ben Broka Omer Kol shepana machsifin, says Rabbi Yochanan ben Broka, if it has a very pale appearance. Acherim omim, others say, Kol yerek mar yesh lo sraf ufanav machsifin. Okay, Acherim is Rabbi Meir. We learned, I think, in that test of Masechta Shabbos and Rashi, I think, that Kol Yerek Mar, any bitter vegetable, Yesh Lo Sraf upon a Machsifin, is going to have sap and also going to have a pale appearance. Rabbi Yochanan says, Rabbi Yochanan Midivei Kulan Nilmad, let's learn from what everybody has said, that Yerek Mar, Yesh Lo Sraf upon a Machsifin. So let us conclude that any bitter vegetable is going to have sap and have a pale appearance. Rav Huna halacha kacherim, says Rav Huna that the halacha is like acherim, that any bitter vegetable has sap and a pale appearance. Romaine lettuce, I guess it has a pale appearance. Does it have sap? Can anybody? What's the word I'm thinking of? Corroborate? Is that the word? Maybe. Ravina ashkechei Rav Acha bre derave. So Ravina found Rav Acha bre derave. Dav mahadar amrirta. He was going around town for his maror. He was trying to get marirta. So Amalei, so Ravina said to Rav Acha bre derave, "My daitich, the mirin tvei. How come you're specifically looking for marirta? Is it because it's particularly bitter and you want the maror to be as bitter as possible?" V'chazeres tanan. But in our Mishnah, what's the first thing listed in our Mishnah for vegetables from Maror? Chazeres is the first one. Romaine lettuce, if we're assuming that that's what it means. Mitanan devei Shmuel, and then we also had a brisa from the Beis Medrash of Shmuel, Chazeres. From Rabbi Oshaya, mitzvah b'chazeres. Rabbi Oshaya also said that the best thing is romaine lettuce. So we see also biyamenu. Also nowadays, some people like to get stark horseradish. But the fact of the matter is, all you need is chazeres. All you need is romaine lettuce. It's mitzvah b'chazeres, assuming, of course, that chazeres is romaine lettuce. Rava, my chazeres chasa. Says Rava, what's chazeres? Chasa. Okay. My chasa. You ready for this shtickle Torah over here? This little vort? You ready? Or as my nephew likes to say, guess what? Oh my gosh, he's such a good storyteller. So engaging. Anyways, my chasa. So what is chasa? The chas rachmana ilavun. You hear that? That the Eibishter had rachmanis on us. Chasa is the chas rachmana ilavun. That the Eibishter had rachmanis on us in Egypt and took us out. V'amar Reb Shmuel bar Nachmani Amar b'Yonasan Lama nimshlu Mitzrayim kimara. Why was Mitzrayim, or the Egyptians, why are they compared to Maror? Right? It says Vaymaru es chayim, that they made the lives of the Yidden very, very bitter. So why are the Egyptians compared to Maror? Lo ma'luchat sedium Maror zeh, that this Maror is tchilas urach v'sofu kasha, that it starts out soft but then gets very hard. Also the Egyptians, they started out soft, but in the end they became very hard. And as Rashi points out in Dibra Maskil Tchila Raka, it says B'tchila nishtaibdula in ayidei sachar shayu sochen also. And you hear that? That the enslavement began with just regular employment. That at the beginning they were getting paid. It was just regular work. But then things got shver. Omle Hadribi. So Rav Acha Breiderava responds to Ravina. He said, you know what? I take it back. I'm no longer interested in using Marirta for Maror. I'm just going to use good old romaine lettuce. Amar Le Rav Chumi Labai. So Rav Chumi says to Abai, Mimaidai Maror min Yereku. Who says that Maror has to be a type of bitter vegetable? Ema Marirta Duchufya. Maybe I'll say it's like a spleen of a fish or something, which I guess is pretty bitter. Is that bitter or is it just disgusting? I'm not sure. Dumi de matzah. So Abaye answers it has to be similar to matzah. Matzah gedule karka, maror gedule karka, right? The pasuk of course says, matzah simrorim yochlu. You have to eat the korban pesach with matzah and maror. So we compare matzah and maror. Just like matzah needs to come from the ground, so maror needs to come from the ground. It can't come from a fish. Vema hirduf. Maybe we'll say it's hirduf. Hirduf is some kind of bark. Apparently Rashi says that some say that was the bark that Moshe Rabbeinu threw into the waters at Maror to sweeten the water. So Dumi de matzah. So again, it has to be similar to matzah. Matzah min zroim, af Maror min zroim. It has to come from herbs, not from trees. Ve'ema harzifo. Maybe it's this type of plant that, I don't know, apparently is poisonous for animals. Dumi de matzah, once again, Maror would have to be similar to matzah. Matzah shenikachas bekesef meiser, af Maror shenikach bekesef meiser. Just like matzah, we know what you can make matzah from the 5 grains. So just like those 5 grains, you're able to purchase with the money of meiser sheni. So also matzah, Maror needs to be from a species that you can purchase with money of meiser sheni, and harzifo you cannot purchase with money of meiser sheni. Amarle Rabbi Rav Chanan la'Abai, says Rabbi Rav Chanan to Abai, Ema Maror chad. So I like this. It says Rabbi Rav Chanan to Abai, says, why don't we just say that Maror is one thing? Why are there like 1,000 things on this page? We don't even know how to translate them. Why don't we just say there's one thing that is Maror, that's probably going to be the most bitter of them all, and this is Maror. Why are there like 1,000 options? So Morim ksiv. So Abaye answers, but it says Marorim, right? Amatzos Marorim. Marorim is plural, so there has to be more than one. Vema Marorim trey. So it says Rabbi Rav Chanan, but okay, so maybe there are 2 types of Maror. So Dumi de matzah. Ma matzah min harbe, af Maror min harbe. So Maror is similar to matzah, just like matzah. You can use a number of different species, 5. So also Maror, you can use a whole bunch of different species. Rabbi Rav Huna, Rav. Says Rabbi Rav Huna in the name of Rav Yerakis, Sha'amru Chachamim, Shad Miltzi Bani Dichavos BePesach. These vegetables that you're allowed to use for Maror. Kulin Nizrain Baruga Achas. You could plant all of them in one furrow, and you don't need to worry about kilayim. Remember the leis b'mushum kilayim. So does that mean that you don't have to worry about kilayim when it comes to these vegetables from Maror? Masav Rav asks the kasha. Chazeres v'chazeres galin, ulshin v'ulshei sadeh, krishin v'chrishei sadeh, kuzber v'kuzber sadeh, chada v'chada mitzri, udlasa mitzri v'harmotza, enam kilayim zebazeh. So if you have all these pairs of things, right? So for example, I don't know, chazeres and chazeres galin. So if you plant them together, you can plant them you can plant those pairs together, and you don't have to worry about kilayim. So the question is, chazeres v'chazeres galin in, chazeres v'ulshin lo. So what we're saying here is that you can plant chazeres together with chazeres galin, ulshin with ulshei sadeh. You could plant those together, but you wouldn't be able to plant together chazeres and ulshin. That wouldn't work. Now chazeres and ulshin were both options for Maror. Now if we're saying over here that you can only plant together, similar things, right? Chazeres and chazeres galin, ulshin and ulshei sadeh, but you wouldn't be able to plant together chazeres and ulshin. So that means that the different types of Maror would be unable to be planted all together in the same furrow. You would have to be concerned about kilayim. So how can Rav say that you wouldn't have to be concerned about kilayim? So v'chitema akul bade katani lehu. Maybe you'll suggest, no, what it means is that all of these things listed, you can just mix and match. I mean, it's not just chazeres and chazeres galin, ulshin and ulshei galin, and ulshei sadeh. No, it's even chazeres and ulshin. Like any of these things on the list, you can plant together. V'amar Rav zugas katani. But Rav himself said that this was a Mishnah. Yeah, sure. Looks like a Mishnah. Wow, Masechta Kilayim. Anybody interested in learning Masechta Kilayim? I wonder. Anyways, we've struggled a bit with Kilayim around here in Babylon Talmud, I think. Anyways, so Rav says that the Zug is Katani, right? That these species are specifically listed in their pairs. That only those, right? They could be planted together in their pairs, but not interchangeable. So my Nizrayin Dam Rav Nizrayin Kilchason. Aha. So the Gemara answers, when Rav says that all of these different types of maror can be planted together, it doesn't mean planted together in a problematic way, in a way that would be a violation, an issue of kilayim, rather kilchason. It means that you can plant them in a way that would be halachically permitted, as of course we have fond memories from Masechta Shabbos and Daf Pehei. So to which the Gemara says, yeah, but Kilchasan Tanina. We already know from Daf Pehei of Masechta Shabbos that there are halachically permissible ways that you can plant, different kinds of seeds. As we learned in our Mishnah, Aruga shisha al shisha tfachim. If you have a patch that is 6 tfachim by 6 tfachim square, zorin b'socha chamisha zeronin, you could plant in that patch 5 different types of species without violating kilayim. Arba ruchas aruga. You can put 1 species on each of the 4 sides of the patch. V'achas be'emtza. Then a 5th species, I think like 1 seed of a 5th species in the middle. And then everything is like more than 3 tfachim away from each other. I think that was the Indian. No. So we already know from Masechta Shabbos that there are permissible ways to plant different types of species. So like what's Rav what's the Chiddush? Rav is saying that you have all these different types of maror. You can't plant them mamish next to each other, but you can plant them in a halachically permissible way. Duh, obviously you can plant them in a halachically permissible way. What's his Chiddush? So the Gemara answers, I may have thought to say that the Mishnah in Shabbos, which discusses how to plant these species, is talking about types of zra'im. Aval b'yirakis lo. So there's a difference between zra'im and yirakis. Zra'im, I guess, would maybe be like different type, non-vegetables. Not like root kind of things, not like vegetable kind of things. Other kinds of seeds. But yirakos maybe drink a lot, are much more thirsty, so you wouldn't be able to plant those in this fashion. So therefore, I may have thought to say that these marors you would be unable to plant even in a halachically permissible fashion. So says Rav that no, actually you are allowed to plant them in a halachically permissible fashion. Kamash Malan, that's what Rav is teaching us. But 1 second, does that imply that yirakot, vegetables, are thirstier than other seeds? But 1 second, we have a Mishnah that teaches the opposite, that different types of zraim, different types of seeds, I don't know, what would be considered seeds? Maybe like wheat. Yeah, maybe like wheat. Wheat, for example. So let's say wheat and barley or something, I don't know. You would be unable to plant these different types of zraim in one patch, even in this potentially permissible way with like the, 6 tfachim, 5 species. But all types of vegetables you can plant in this halachically permissible way. So therefore, I already know from Rav that these maror versions, these maror options, I would be able to plant in one patch in a halachically permissible way. So the Gemara says, yeah, but still I would have thought, Hane maror min zraim. Maybe I would have thought that these maror things are not actually yirakos. I thought maybe they would be zraim. And we said zraim you wouldn't be able to plant even in a halachically permissible way. Kamash Malan. So that is what Rav is teaching us, that these marors are different types of yirakot. Zraim sakadaitech, the Gemara says, wait, would you really have thought that these types of marors are types of zraim? V'atanan, but we learn in the Mishnah, yirakis. No, our Mishnah says these are the yirakis, these are the vegetables that you can use for maror. V'tani bakapar yirakis, v'tani devei shmuel yirakis. We learned a whole bunch of brises where like everyone's talking about vegetables that you can use for maror. Obviously, for maror we're using vegetables and not zraim. So chazeres it's trichale. So the Gemara says, yeah, but the chiddush is specifically for chazeres. Because I may have thought that since chazeres in the end is going to get hard, we might need to give it, extra special treatment and give it more space, and not just 5 different species in one patch. Maybe the chazeres needs more space. So lavam Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Chanina, because after all, didn't Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Chanina say kelech shel kruv shehuksha? If you have the stalk of a cabbage that became hard, machivin lo base rova, you got to give it more space. You got to give it a base rova, which is, I guess, more space. Yeah, I think, what was it, 10 tfachim or 10 amas? But 10 amas certainly more than 6 tfachim by 6 tfachim. So just like by the cabbage, it gets hard, so we have to give it more space. I may have thought to say that the chazeres also, you'd have to give more space. Therefore, we have Rav to teach us that no, all of these different species, including chazeres, you can plant in a 6 tefach by 6 tefach patch, as long as you keep social distance of, I think, 3 tefachim from the different species. Oh, Zok the Gemara, Yotzin Bain, Uvikelach. Whoa, what? Whoa. Yotzin Bain, Bain Lachin, Bain Yivation. Chule. Okay. Says the Mishnah that you can use these vegetables for Maror, whether they're moist, whether they are dry. Amar V'chizda says V'chizda lo shanu ela b'kelach. Hava ba'alan lachin in Yivation lo. Rav Chisda says that when we say that you can use these species moist or dry, that is specifically referring to their stalk. However, the leaves must be moist. If they're dry, then they're just pointless. But if we look at the end of the Mishnah, it says that you can use their stalk, which implies that the first part of the Mishnah is not talking about their stalk, it's talking about the leaves, and it's saying that the leaves can be dry or moist. And you can also, the same would apply to the stalk. So we see that even the leaves can be in dry or moist. What does Rav Chisda do with that? So the Gemara answers, Parushi kamafarish. Now the Mishnah is just, explaining itself. Kikatani ben lachin ben yivation, that when the ratio of the Mishnah says that you can use maror, whether it's moist, whether it's dry, akelach, it's referring specifically to the stalk. But the leaves would have to be moist, they can't be dry. Meisvei, we have a kasha, yotzim boyan v'kelach shaloyin. So we have a brisa which says that you can use for maror them and their stalk. So it sounds like the them is probably going to be the leaves and the stalk is probably going to be the stalk. Bein lach and bein yivation to Reb Meir. Whether it is moist, whether it is dry, that is Reb Meir's opinion. The Chacham disagree with Reb Meir and they say you can only use moist maror, you cannot use dry maror. Vishavin, both Reb Meir and the Chacham agree, sheyotzin boen kmushin, you can use withered maror. Okay. Avalo kvushin, but not pickled. Velo shlukin, not really boiled. Velo mevushalin, not regularly boiled. Klal shodavar, the rule is kol sheish botam maror yotzin bo. Keeps it pretty simple. Look, at the end of the day, the rule is if it's bitter, you can use it. Chol shein botam maror ein yotzin bo. If it doesn't have a taste of maror, don't use it. Nu, what's the question? The question is that our Mishnah said that you can use maror whether it is moist, whether it's dry. Reb Meir said in this brisa that you can use maror whether it's moist, whether it's dry, whether it's whether it's stalk. What's the it? Stam of the it is the leaves. So we see that right? So Reb Meir must be the author of our Mishnah, because our Mishnah is saying that you can use maror moist and dry, which is Reb Meir's opinion in this brisa. The Chacham say you cannot use it if it's dry. They do say you can use it if it's withered, but anyway, so it must be that Reb Meir is the author of our Mishnah, and Reb Meir is saying you can use it or its stalk, implying what's it? You stem of the leaves. And we're saying that the leaves could be moist or dry. What do you guys think of that question? So the Gemara answers Taguma Akelach. No, say that the it is also the stalk. Okay. Tanabanan, the rabbis taught in Yotzin Buen Kemushin. So the rabbis taught Yutaka not allowed to use withered maror. Mishum Rabbi Lazar Reb Tzadok Amu. They send the name of Rabbi Lazar Reb Tzadok Yotzin Buen Kemushin. You can use withered maror. So what do you guys think? Can you use withered maror? Weiß nicht. But remember Barchama asked the Kasha, haha, you guys thought that you were done with that Meiser Sheni B'Yerushalayim stuff. Well, you're not. Rabbi Bar Chama wants to know, if you have Meiser Sheni in Yerushalayim, can you use it for Maror? Let's say you grow a whole bunch of horseradishes, and you have Meiser Sheni horseradish. You bring it to Yerushalayim, or I guess if you want to, maybe romaine lettuce. So according to Rabbi Akiva, who says that you're allowed to use Meiser Sheni for matzah, well then, hashta b'mitzvah d'oraisa nafik b'maror d'rabanan mibaya. If by matzah, which is d'oraisa, what's d'oraisa? Well, obviously matzah is d'oraisa, but guess what? Maror is also d'oraisa. But what it means is that if by matzah, which is wheat, which is grain, and it's like wheat and barley, for example, are chayiv in trumas, are chayiv meiser sheni midoraisa, right? Because midoraisa, it applies to reishis degancha tiroshcha v'tzarecha, right? So the first of your dagan. So certainly when it comes to like matzah, which you're making from the chameshes mine dagan, so where meiser sheni is midoraisa, which means that once the meiser sheni comes to Yerushalayim, when we say that you're not allowed to eat it outside of Jerusalem, it's mamash midoraisa, you can't eat it outside of Jerusalem, and still Rabbi Akiva is saying that you would be allowed to use it for matzah. Well, then certainly maror, where these zra'im are only, or these yirakot are only chayiv meiser sheni midrabanan, certainly, midoraisa, you'd be able to eat them outside of Yerushalayim, so certainly you'd be able to use them for maror, because after all, we compare al matzah sumorim yochlu, matzah and maror, just like matzah would have to be able to eat in b'chol mosh v'seichem, so also maror would have to be able to eat in b'chol mosh v'seichem. But according to Rabbi Akiva, even matzah, which the dagan is chayiv in meiser midoraisa, he says you can use it for matzah, so certainly by maror you'd be able to use it meiser sheni b'Yerushalayim for maror. The real question is Alibid Rabbi Yossi Aglili. Kasha is according to Rabbi Yossi Aglili, who of course learned that you cannot use Meiser Sheni for matzahs. So what would he say? B'matzah d'oraisa hu d'lo nafik, avamar d'avan nafik. Would he say that by matzah, which the Meiser Sheni of Dagan is midoraisa, you're unable to take it out of Jerusalem. That's why he says that you're unable to use Meiser Sheni for matzahs. But maybe by maror, where these vegetables you are only stuck in Jerusalem midorabanan, but midoraisa you could take them out of Jerusalem and eat them. So maybe then he would say you would be able to use them for maror. Or maybe we'll say, look, lemaisa, whatever the chachamim made a takana, they make it as though it was the oraisa, and therefore if the chachamim say that these vegetables are chayiv in meiser sheni, well then we have to treat them in the same way that we treat the oraisa meiser sheni. In which case, if Rabbi Yossi Aglili says you can't use meiser sheni for matzah, then mistama you wouldn't be able to use it for maror either, because we compare matzah and maror. Amarav mistav matzah or maror. Rava says, look, it makes sense to say that it's the same halachas for matzah and maror. Keep things simple, like he said the other day also, yesterday with meiser sheni and kesef meiser sheni and challah. He says, look, let's just keep things low plug without any differences. Let's say we compare matzah and maror, it's going to be all the same halachas. If you're Rabbi Yossi Aglili and you say that you're not allowed to use meiser sheni for matzah, don't use it for maror either. Okay, very, very beautiful. Let's go weiter. It says the Mishnah in Shorenas Amursan the Tarnagolim of Al Cholton. You can't soak bran for the chickens because we're concerned they might become chametz, but you can scald them. You can pour boiling hot water on them because then they won't become chametz. Interesting. Okay. If a woman may not soak bran to take with her to the bathhouse, I guess as some kind of a soap or something. But what she can do is she can go to the bathhouse and bathe, and then use this bran dry, even though it's going to come in contact with whatever moisture might be on her skin, but she can rub it dry on the skin. That would be acceptable. Okay? Don't chew on wheat and then take it out of your mouth with all of its spit and put it on your wound, because they might become chametz in your wound. Says the Gemara, the rabbis taught the following items will never become chametz. If it's already baked, it won't become chametz. Alright, well, says Rashi, lechem mishenefa, once bread is baked, as long as you can soak it in water from today till tomorrow, it won't become chametz. Well, I'm sure everybody's thinking, what about gebroks? What about the people who don't eat gebroks? What about the people who They only eat dry matzah. They don't even put cream cheese on the matzah because it might become chametz. I don't know. So, v'mevushal, if it's boiled, it won't become chametz. V'chalut, and if it's scalded, if you pour boiling hot water on it, it won't become chametz. Shechalto broschen, that you scalded it in boiling hot water. Mevushal adam mevashal lemechameh. But the Gemara says, 1 second. From the fact that we're saying mevushal and chalut, right? Chalut is that you put it in boiling water, which means that mevushal means that you put it in not boiling water and then you boil it. But then the question is, while the water is getting hot, won't the dough become chametz? So Amar Papa Alfred Shabishlo Ka'amar. It means not just boiling regular dough, because you have to be concerned it'll become chametz, but rather if it was already baked and then you boiled it, so then it won't become chametz. Tanya, we learn in the Brayso, Rabbi Yossi Bar Yehuda Omer Kemach Shenafel L'Sochu Delef. If you have a bunch of flour and there's a drip and there's water dripping onto the flour, drip, 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 drip. So afilu kol yom kulo, even if it's dripping all day long, but lidei chimutz, it won't come to become chametz because the constant dripping is going to be messing it up. The pounding, the drop falling on it is going to kind of shake things up and won't give it space to ferment. Amar Papa vuda avid tifla de tif. Papa says that this needs to be a very regular drip, a very consistent, regular, unrelenting drip. Amar Dvei Reb Shila. We learned the Bismedrash of Reb Shila. We had Reb Shila at the end of Masechta Brachos. There's an interesting story with a nudnik. Vatika shari. So Reb Shila says that vatika is allowed. Vatika being some kind of flour food, like flour that you make bread with. Ve'atanya vatika also. We learned advice that vatika is also lokash. It's no problem. Ada avde b'mishcha umilcha. Ada avde b'maya umilcha. Depends how you make it. If you make it with oil and salt, well, that would be okay, because, we said that oil is mei peris and it's not machmetz, okay? But if you make it with water and salt, well, then you have to worry about it become chametz. Amr Marzucha said, Marzucha lo limche inish kidera bekimcha da avishna. Person shouldn't use a flour of oven-dried, grain kernels, dumalo bashal shapir, but just in case the kernels weren't dried out well enough, and then they might become chametz. So don't use flour to thicken your roux and stuff. Well, that was Daf Lamed Tes of Masechta Pesachim. Yeah, I don't know. What did we discuss? We discussed all sorts of different vegetables for Maror, but I think the real main takeaways are probably just use romaine lettuce, and also gebrux doesn't. I don't know. Make your own decision about gebrux. Cheva, have a great day. Peace out.